Welcome back to Alpha Recap, your quick conversational rundown of what moved markets after the close. Markets were closed for the day, and we're unpacking the biggest headlines from April 24th. As always, if you have questions, you can reach us at stockalpha.ai.
Great to be here. Lots to get through. Legal shocks, a mining downgrade, and some calmer news from the rails. So, what really stands out here is the concentrated nature of the moves today.
Right, and the one that dominated the session was Sportradar. Short seller reports accused them of running an illicit business model, and the stock plunged hard.
And the pace of that slide mattered. It fell by about 22% intraday. That kind of drop, combined with a notice from a plaintiff firm, really raises the temperature on legal and liquidity risk.
Yeah, not a great day. When allegations from research shops are followed by plaintiff activity, you can see volatility lasts longer than people expect. Quickly, New Era Energy and Digital also had a securities fraud notice circulated by a Los Angeles law firm. That didn't have the same market-moving size, but it tightens the legal focus for that company.
Right, and notices like that can speed up media and analyst attention, even if operations aren't changing. It's one of those things where the headline alone can push short-term volatility.
Exactly. So put both of those together and you get a theme. Concentrated research attacks morphing into litigation risk. Position sizing and event risk management matter more in sessions like this.
Yeah, that tracks.
Moving on to commodities. Morgan Stanley downgraded Freeport-McMoRan because of operational and policy concerns tied to Indonesia. That's a reminder that country-specific risk can quickly alter minor valuations.
When a big analyst house pulls a rating on sovereign worries, multiples can compress. I mean, when you step back at this, geopolitics is a first-order input for miners.
Analysts noted that Indonesia is a major exposure point for copper and nickel, so any policy shifts there mattered. Investors were re-emphasizing geopolitical risk after a run where macro drove most commodity moves.
Right. The next things to watch were company statements and any regulatory commentary out of Indonesia.
Let's talk rails and industrials. A little good news there. Canadian Pacific Kansas City reached tentative long-term hourly collective bargaining agreements with 2 unions. Pacts were tentative pending ratification, but it lowered near-term strike odds.
Which is huge for network throughput. If labor risk eased, that improves volume visibility and helps revenue cadence for rail names. Wolf Research also raised its price target on Union Pacific, pointing to improving fundamentals.
Right, and between the CPKC labor headlines and the analyst signal for Union Pacific, the tape suggested some operational normalization in the sector.
Yeah, absolutely.
Air Products announced a new air separation unit in Florida to serve space launch demand. That's an interesting strategic play, tying industrial capex to the space economy.
Analysts will be looking at permits, offtake contracts, and capex timing. It's a diversification story, but it's more of a medium-term signal than an immediate EPS driver.
Totally. Analysts will scrutinize contract terms and margin assumptions before calling it material.
Short reaction. Nice pivot to space.
Yeah, nice pivot.
Okay, quick bites on volume-driven moves. QuantumScape finished the day up about 1.4% on very heavy volume, around 112.1 million shares. That kind of activity often signals event-driven positioning.
Nokia had a strong day too, up about 4.7% on very heavy volume, roughly 176.5 million shares. That suggested renewed buying interest and liquidity for traders.
And the 3x inverse small-cap ETF finished up about 1% on massive flows, 225.4 million shares. Leveraged products can amplify intraday moves and create outsized effects for short-term holders.
So watch whether that volume stuck around into the next session, or it was a one-day squeeze. Volume sustainability tells you if momentum will persist.
Exactly. Short reaction, volume is the heartbeat. A few niche but strategic items. Hope Ridge presented at the CASP annual conference, which can strengthen referral networks for autism services. It's more reputation-driven than revenue-driven in the near term.
And Autonomous Resource Corporation and Oak Ridge National Laboratory launched the Exascale Foundry Partnership to speed AI-enabled defense manufacturing. That's a long-run infrastructure play tied to government funding and contracts.
Those stories underline steady investment into mission-critical services and defense tech. For investors focused on secular trends, these are early pipeline signals, rather than immediate earnings drivers.
On the REIT front, Apple Hospitality REIT hit a reported 52-week high at $13.28. It's a modest signal that lodging rates and occupancy expectations may be improving.
Traders should still verify quotes before acting. Sometimes session highs are noisy, but for dividend-focused portfolios, small moves in income instruments can be meaningful.
All right, let's pull these threads together. Cross-cutting patterns from today. Concentrated headline risk from a handful of names, operational normalization in parts of transport, selective capex into specialty industrials, and concentrated volume driving tactical flows.
Concentrated headline risk is the main takeaway for me. A few names, Sportradar, Freeport-McMoRan, New Era Energy, generated outsized moves from short reports, downgrades, or legal notices.
Which means event risk management and position sizing were in the spotlight. Also, the rail and industrial news hinted at a move from headline-driven volatility to execution-focused stock moves, at least in those pockets.
And the volume concentration in names like QuantumScape and Nokia shows tactical flows still mattered, even as macro indicators remained mixed.
Quick, rapid-fire headlines to watch next. Company responses and follow-ups for Sportradar. Indonesia policy signals and Freeport commentary. Ratification votes at Canadian Pacific Kansas City. Permit and offtake updates from Air Products. Volume sustainability for QuantumScape and Nokia. And docket activity for New Era Energy.
For tomorrow, expect legal and research follow-ups on the names we just mentioned. And look for rail traffic stats or operational updates that either confirm or contradict the improving rails narrative.
Also, permit milestones and contract announcements for Air Products Florida unit will be things to watch, along with whether the heavy volume names keep trading actively into a second session.
Before we wrap, a quick reminder on the style of commentary we gave. This is informational only. Analysts note risks and catalysts, and the data we discussed is meant to inform, not to be personalized investment advice.
We didn't recommend buying, selling, or holding anything today. Investors should verify facts and consult licensed professionals before making decisions.
Final takeaways. 1. Concentrated headlines can cause outsized moves and follow-on litigation risk. 2. Rails looked a bit calmer with tentative labor agreements and positive analyst signals. 3. Selective, strategic capex into niche markets like space can create differentiated narratives for industrial suppliers. 4. Watch volume sustainability to see if momentum holds.
If you want a short recap, big legal and research stories drove idiosyncratic moves. Miners face country risk scrutiny, and transport showed signs of stabilization.
Short reaction, clear themes, lots to monitor.
That's our Alpha recap for April 24th. If you have questions about anything we covered today, head to stockalpha.ai, where you can ask us directly and we'll answer live. For more market analysis and insights, visit stockalpha.ai.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back after the next close to recap the market action and answer your questions.